She's passionate about telling stories of amazing women who are rocking the world and empowering women to live, love, and thrive. Here's your host, Katherine Gray.
Welcome to Live, Love, Thrive, Women's Empowerment Hour, brought to you by 360 Karma. As always, we have on an incredible woman today. She is an icon in her generation of lesbian comics, and we are so happy to have with us today. Please give a warm welcome to Suzanne Westenhoefer.
I thought,
hi.
When you said she's an icon in her, for like 3 people that I met in a mall, that's almost sort of how it was going to be. I was like, oh, that can't be good.
An icon in your generation. I mean, trailblazer. Yeah.
Wait. I've been making jokes about it. Maybe I'll do it at my show, but that I got called by a young, brand new lesbian comedian, open lesbian comedian, a pioneer.
You are a pioneer.
Wait,
yeah.
What? Like, do I have a wagon? You know what I mean?
I know, you get a visual,
so
right?
Awful. It's because you never think of yourself as being older.
Right.
Like that just doesn't happen after
Right.
you're 20.
Yeah.
Right. And then all of a sudden somebody who's like 20 says, "Oh my God, you're a pioneer. My mom showed me your HBO special."
I know. Yeah, I know. It's we love the millennials, though. We love them.
But she's 20. She's
and by the way, all of our friends are older, but we're not. So I just wanted to
That's what I've always
give that
said.
little footnote.
Oh, my girlfriend's younger.
I know everybody would love to know, the backstory of, how did you become this well-known comedian and trailblazer in the lesbian community? I know there was a television show that actually catapulted you into your fame. But first, I want to really, nobody ever knows where people come from, like how people got into the business. And so I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that don't know that you grew up in like rural Pennsylvania.
Lancaster County, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I actually grew up in the, like one of, 3 towns, where the houses were all tight together on a river in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania.
And it was Amish country, right?
Amish country, yes.
Right.
Grew up among the Amish.
Yeah.
I myself am not Amish.
And thanks
for asking.
And if the millennials don't know what the Amish is, it's like...
Oh, but now they do.
Yeah,
Because
they
of
do,
those crazy
right?
shows on TV that are so fake. I mean, there's one thing to have fake shows.
Yeah.
To have fake shows about the Amish is a level of bizarre that I can't.
There's a reality show, right?
There's like
I think
2,
so. Yeah.
And one is like being part of the Amish mafia. I'm like, excuse me? What is an Amish mafia? We've got
There's
your
a
cow.
lesbian mafia too.
We have your cow. That I believe.
Yeah, right. I think it was on a panel called the Lesbian Mafia. It's probably in my
through the years.
It's probably on my Wikipedia now.
27 years of me making my living as a stand-up comedian. The names of the panels and the TV shows that I've been on now would be insulting.
Yeah.
We talk about this all the time because in 1991, the thing that did catapult me is I was a open lesbian comedian causing a little snarkiness and fun and excitement in New York City. And then the producers from the Sally Jesse Raphael show found me and asked me if I would come on her show and talk about being an open lesbian. The reason they wanted me was not because I was a comic, nothing like that. It's because I didn't look like a lesbian.
Oh my gosh.
Wait.
Yeah.
Which in 1991,
they wouldn't have picked me.
Wait, but we all understood that.
Yeah.
And how much we wanted that, right?
Yeah.
And how important that was, that we wanted them to understand that a lesbian could look like anything, right? And now, if somebody would do a show, lesbians who don't look like lesbians, people would lose their...
Oh, exactly.
Curse
It
word.
would be so politically incorrect.
Oh my God.
But
Isn't that funny?
that is interesting that's what catapulted you. But let's start though with your childhood was in this small Amish town where everybody worked
weren't
at
an Amish town because Amish.
you were
doesn't
next to
happen.
the
I don't know
Amish
how to
town.
explain that to you, but they don't. Where I
Oh,
grew
you
up
couldn't
is-
live in
They're
it.
called
Yeah.
no. The Amish that were in the general vicinity where I live, most of them are what they call old order Amish. So they're like Hasidic Jew or fundamentalist Christian,
Right.
100 years ago.
Right.
So they don't live like, it's not like here's a house Amish. It's not like that.
Right.
They
have their own community.
completely separated from
But
us.
you used to see them in their horse and buggies.
Well, and my mother, because she was a secretary for a doctor who grew up with his farm next to Amish people, so they trusted him. So if they had a terrible eye accident, he was an eye doctor, they would go to him because they don't use our doctors.
Right.
But they would go to him. Like they knew him.
Oh,
he was a
that's
boy that was raised
interesting.
on farms out in the Amish area. And so he was, but even when I say that, meaning they had to be like holding one eye in their hand.
Oh my God.
Before they would even come in. And he was just like an eye doctor, like read this, one of the, right? Because they don't.
Yeah, they don't believe in doctors or Western civilization.
They don't.
Right?
They,
no electricity.
Everything is like 250, 300 years ago for them.
Right.
And if it's not mentioned, this is the piece people don't understand. If it's not part of the Old Testament,
right,
then it's out.
Oh my gosh, I
so
did not
there's no
realize
zippers.
That. Yeah.
Okay, no buttons.
Yeah.
To do your clothing, everything has to be hook and eye.
Oh my God.
Which is mentioned in one of the books of the Bible.
Wow, how interesting. But so you grew up in this little town.
I did. Little tiny factory town. Everybody worked at the factory.
Everybody worked
About
at the
10,000
factory,
people.
including yourself in high school or something.
I
right?
worked there for my first job was when I was like 13. But I mean, I worked there when I was before 18 and 18 before I went to college because they pay the most money back then.
Wow.
When you didn't have any other skill.
Right.
Working in a factory, if you worked at 11 o'clock at night till 7 in the morning,
yeah,
you made like 80 cents more an hour, which was like a ton of money.
Right. And so you had humble beginnings.
I did what?
Yeah.
We were poor, Catherine.
Right.
We go right out and say it.
Right.
My mom, well, because also my parents were divorced. My father kicked us off our little farm. I was 2, so I don't remember it anyway.
Right.
My mom and my 2 sisters and I, and this is 1964 because I'm 1,000 years old. Women couldn't get a credit card. People don't remember that.
Yeah.
In 1964, a woman could not get her own credit card without a male signing for her.
Isn't that so hard to believe? Yeah.
So she couldn't get
This was
a
in
mortgage.
our lifetime.
In our lifetime.
Yeah.
And so she couldn't get a mortgage. So she couldn't live.
Right.
You know,
And
so
it was,
and she was poor.
And you had shared with me how taboo it was in the 60s to have a single mom.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and that you actually
Isn't that part weird too? That's changed so dramatically.
Right. And that you got kind of, even
we were like
shunned at this school.
And my mother was absolutely shunned
Yeah.
because people thought if they invited her to anything, she would steal their husbands.
Oh my God.
So in this tiny little town with all these little row homes, they would have like a barbecue or something. Some family would have it, and we weren't invited.
Right.
And so you have to they're literally there. You can see them because she wasn't invited because they were afraid if she came over and was nice to their husbands that they would lose their. It's like what?
And little did they know they should have just been worried if you would
About
take
me
their wife
and their daughters. Just saying. But it was I think I told you that horrible story. I think I did, but I'm gonna. It really was sent home to me. I understood that I was from a broken home. That's what they would tell you.
Yeah.
You were from a broken home because you didn't have a dad.
Yeah.
And in this tiny town, we were the only family with not a dad. There was one other woman who was in my class who didn't have a mom. Her mom had died. So everybody, the way they dealt with her when she was just because she was living with her dad and her siblings and stuff was, oh my God, that poor girl doesn't have a mom. Her mom died. Like everything was so sad, and they were all like, poor Patricia.
Yeah.
Patricia.
Yeah.
But me, because my dad left and we were kicked into town, so to speak, it was like, oh, she's from a broken. Like people, like it was as if I had done something at 6.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And in 5th grade, I was acting up in the back of the class once because I was kind of a chatty person.
I can't imagine.
That one time. And I was, and because my last name began with a W, you were sitting in the back of the class because I used to do everything alphabetical. So I'm sitting in the back, and I've got the attention of like 2 or 3 of the guys. So I'm making jokes and I'm doing something, and she yells at me, this teacher, and she was elderly at the time, which was probably 50.
Right, we
But
thought that was elderly.
That was like elderly. Yeah. And so she calls me up and stands me in front of the class, and she goes, "This is what it happens when you are from a broken home."
Oh my God.
And everybody was like, and we're all, what are you, 5th grade, 11?
Oh my God. Could you imagine
We're
someone
11.
doing that today?
No.
Where is that woman? We're looking her
She's
up.
all
What's her
dead and
name?
stuff, so it's okay.
Are you
but
sure?
you know what's really, you know what's, oh my God. Do you know what she would be?
She's probably with a woman.
125. I know, right? What's funny about it is, the two things that I remember is she got very, very sick and left school while she was our teacher for 5th grade for like a month. Oh. And it was something that almost killed her, all right? But as an 11-year-old, I was like, yes.
Yeah.
And
Karma.
I took the substitute teacher the last day. I took her out and I went, "Is there anything I can do to make you stay on so that Mrs. Kunkel doesn't have to ever come back.
Right.
I mean, is there something I can get you? It was like I was going to be a fixer. I'm 11, but I remember sitting on the steps and trying to go,
gosh.
do you want, my mom can cook
Right.
for us?
Yeah.
I was like, I thought, trying to bribe a teacher.
Oh my gosh.
Not even
That's
knowing
really
and
sad.
not even having anything
Right.
because I don't want her, because she was just a regular substitute teacher and she was lovely to
but
everybody.
that hurt you so much. Yeah. So let me
Isn't
ask
that
you
crazy?
this.
But I was
okay.
trying to be a fixer.
Right.
That's what makes me laugh.
So the next chapter of your life, you kind of head into bartending.
I always knew I wanted to be an entertainer. There was never another thought.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
I never like went and maybe I'll also be a vet or something weird. No, nothing.
Right.
And so I went through all that. Then I went to college in Pennsylvania because I didn't have any money to go out of state. That was back when out of state was way more expensive.
Yeah.
And things like that. And I got a Pell Grant and a BEO, the poor people grants.
Yeah.
Right. And I majored in acting, and then I went to New York. I couldn't live right in the city because it was too expensive, so we lived right outside of Fort Lee, New Jersey. Right. I was going to be an actor. I was going to be I wanted that craft,
That's what
the
you
performing
wanted.
thing.
Yes.
That was all I ever wanted to do.
Yeah.
But then I got so intimidated by the process when I was in New York, and my partner at the time was didn't like me going in for auditions at night. We had a lot of trouble, and so I'm bartending to make a living.
Right.
And all of a sudden, you turn around, and I've been bartending at the time. I guess it was like 8 or 9 years, and you're
Right.
like, oh, I guess this is what I'm going to be for the rest of my life.
Right.
And I was bummed about it, and
then I
this
asked
guy-
you, how did you make this leap? And then you told me this great story about this customer.
It's true. I had regulars. I worked the Monday through Friday day shift as a bartender in a fine dining seafood restaurant, but started out as a Hula Hands, which is not a fine dining seafood. But I would get regulars because I was entertaining.
Right.
I now see that. I was basically doing comedy. And I
For
would get,
free.
Right? And they would people would wait for me. Like they would literally wait to come and sit and have lunch at the bar when the restaurant was open.
Yeah.
And there were tables.
Yeah.
And it was so, like, I was digging it and I was into it and I became a bartender trainer and all this other stuff. But this guy who would come in every day and I would always try to make them eat because they were alcoholics.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what alcoholism was, but I knew that they shouldn't keep drinking and go back to work.
Right.
And I was having, and he says to me one day, he goes, I saw this comedian last night on HBO and that's what you should be doing.
Yeah.
You should be a comic.
And he told you you were funnier than her.
Oh, yeah. He
Yeah.
was all like,
Yeah.
oh, my God, you're so... Da, da, da. And then a couple other people heard him and said, yeah, that's so true. But I was like, I'm openly gay. Like, I was so openly gay. I was like, I used to say, this is so true. Do you want a beer? I'm queer. I thought that was clever. It was 1983.
Was it also your way so that they wouldn't hit on you?
Nope.
No?
No,
Okay.
I love flirting. I was a big, giant flirt myself. It was like that to me is like a fantastic activity.
Yeah.
Flirting and telling people they look great, and when you do, not lying about it, but when you feel it, I love all that.
Yeah.
And so I was a big flirt. I was a big thing, but I was super out. I was a member of ACT UP.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
Queer
yeah.
Nation, and we broke off to Queer Nation, and I was part of the Lesbian Avengers, and all this stuff. And I was like, I'd never been in the closet, not even for an hour, ever in my life.
Right.
So I'm like, how am I going to get up and do stand up and suddenly just start talking about a boy? Am I going to I can't be that person.
Right.
This was 1990.
But then they reminded you that you were yourself at the bar, and they enjoyed it.
Actually, what
right?
he said was,
what did he
and
say?
let us not forget, I said, what do I do? I mean, I can't just go off and try to, and he goes, yeah, because you'll never get another bartending job. and then you're like, oh, yeah. I'm nothing. I'm just an hourly person. I can do this. I'll get hired anywhere, right? You know what I mean? And that's when him saying that.
And I
my
hope you
partner
telling
being
this
supportive.
story inspires other people that want to be comedians or actors or whatever to take that leap like you did. And let's talk about that transition. What was the leap? You got a dare to go.
And he dared me. He basically said, get up. Let's see what happens. And I said, at that time, there were only, as far as I knew, 3 or 4 openly lesbian comics in the world. And the truth is that really was all there was in the world. But they performed for lesbian and gay events. Like at gay pride rallies or like at lesbian folk singer concerts and things
not
like
at
that.
straight bars.
No. Not inside the clubs.
Right.
Not inside a comedy club.
Right.
Nothing for straight people. And I was like, I want to do it right. I want to be famous for everybody, and I want to be famous, and I want everybody to like me, not just lesbians,
And you want it to be authentic.
And I want it to be. And I'm an activist, right? I'm going to be me and all this other stuff. So he dares me. So I go in with on July 31st, 1990.
Yeah.
So I go into this cabaret that had open mic in Manhattan in New York City, and like 25, 27, something like other comics get up. Everybody has 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I do my 3 minutes that was very practiced and everything, and you win by audience applause, and I got the most applause, so I want $25.
Yeah, right. So let me just repeat that so everybody got it. There's 25 to 30 people competing.
Yes.
You each had 3 minutes.
Yes.
And only one person could win.
Right.
And this was your very first time
Yes.
doing stand-up
Isn't that
in public.
crazy?
And you won.
I won.
And that gave you the confidence to say,
Oh my God, yes. Because
Okay,
here,
I got
I
this.
win, and I go,
Yeah.
oh, this is going to be a breeze. Sure, I'll do some comedy on the weekends when I'm not bartender or something. Like, I really thought that.
Right.
Like, oh, this will just be an extra way I get like $20 every now and again.
yeah, yeah.
I had no sense
You're like,
that, oh my
25
God.
bucks, rock on.
And within weeks, I understood the need
Yes.
for the lesbian voice. At the time, the need for a lesbian voice that didn't look stereotypical
Right.
lesbian. That
Yes.
was a real thing in
Yes.
the early 90s.
So even the ones that were out weren't quite the look that you brought to the table.
Do you mean the
right?
other comics?
Like Leah Delaria was
Well,
out.
no,
or-
but Kate Clinton's
Yeah,
beautiful.
but Kate
no,
Clinton,
I think
yeah.
I don't think it was that. I think truly it was that they weren't working in front of the straight audiences, really.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So they were working the gay audiences,
And
like
I
you
wanted
said.
to do both.
Right, I love that.
But not thinking
Yeah.
at that time. I didn't think. I was just arrogance. At the time, I wasn't thinking, oh, because we need to be moved on.
Yeah.
I mean, within
somewhere
days, I
inside
did.
yourself.
Yeah, I certainly, because
Yeah.
I was an activist. That's who I am.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah.
and so at that time, immediately I understood because from gay people that they needed me to do that. Like they needed me to do this.
Right,
They
because
needed
even
me to
in those-
look like I did, which at the time was freaking hot because it's a while back. Do you know what I mean?
Still are.
No, but
So
you know what I mean.
you go into a club, a comedy club,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to realize that there were gay people in there.
Right?
So you spoke to that, and then the straight people who were,
But the stuff I was
uncomfortable
doing
but
in-
loving it because they had a gay sister or brother
But
or
remember,
somebody.
at the beginning in
Yeah.
1990, when I was getting up there, even if I knew there were other queers in the audience, any other lesbians or anything like that, you couldn't acknowledge them.
Oh no!
Dear
Right.
God, what if you outed
And
them?
You told me
and they
that.
were work people.
And what I love, the night you told me that you did stand up with these 20, 30 people and compete, there were other lesbians there that said, you can't do that.
Oh
You
my
can't
God,
be
and they
out."
didn't mean it mean.
Yeah.
You understand, they came right up to me. They knew it was my first
thought it was
time.
gonna
For
kill
many
your
of them-
career.
Right, for many of them, it was their first few times of performing, if not their first. And so they were like, oh my God, you were so funny. That's so great. You can't do that. You can't say you're gay. You can't say, if you say you're lesbian, everybody's going to know. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
you'll never get anywhere. And
Yeah.
I got told that by everyone
Yeah.
until 95.
But here's the thing.
96.
But within a year of doing that stand up, you were asked to be on the Sally Jesse Raphael
months,
show.
Months. But they
Yeah.
came, but Sally Jesse
Oh,
came
within
for
months.
Me.
Oh my God.
I started in January is when I did the next January. But here's what, Sally Jesse peoples came for me not because I was a comedian.
Right.
They came for me because I was a pretty, that's literally what they said, a pretty lesbian.
A lipstick lesbian, they
They
used to
didn't
call
even
it.
invent that phrase
Oh,
yet.
oh.
We're like 4 years before that phrase comes out.
Right. Oh my God. Pre-lipstick lesbian. Wow. But
I know. Oh my God.
but that did skyrocket your
Yes.
career.
Well,
I mean,
because what
obviously
happened
being on
is,
television.
Sally has on, like, I think there were 5 of us total. And she introduced them, the first one out, and she turns and she says, and today in my show, blah, 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 and I want to introduce Suzanne Westenhoefer, who's an openly lesbian comedian, stand-up comedian. And she was a little shocked because no one had heard of that. Was like not a thing people did.
Right.
And because she said it on national TV and everyone heard it, all of a sudden, the Sally Jesse Raphael show, the ABC and all that, like, I'm still friends with some of the people who work on that show from that long ago because they got all this people going, where can we get her? Can we
Right.
book her? Can we put her here?
Oh
We
my
want her in our
God.
club, we want her thing. And not gay people,
Yeah.
straight clubs.
Right, but
They were
also,
like, "Let's try this. This is gonna be
but
crazy."
also every lesbian in the country
I
was
think
talking about it
that
and
show
passing
was like
your
a
show
huge- they were-
around everybody.
Remember
Yeah.
VHS? I would go to parties, like just regular, your weekend off, you go with your girlfriend and whatever to meet up with some people, and they were having the party and I wouldn't even know this because a friend of a friend kind of thing, to watch me on Sally Jesse.
Yeah.
This was in the first months of me doing comedy. Can you imagine the
Right. And doesn't
that
it
kind of
doesn't it feel
wow, you're
good?
like, whoa.
Doesn't it feel good to know they were doing that?
Excuse me.
Because what you did was like validate people. Like, believe it or not, like just by being an out comedian, not only, being obviously hilariously funny and enjoyable to watch.
That wasn't it
but,
in the beginning. You and I
but
both know that.
But it was,
that was just a piece of it.
It was a piece of it, but it was so much more
Confidence.
than that. Seeing themselves.
Not apologizing.
Yes,
Not
having somebody
apologizing.
out, having somebody be proud.
It was a big deal.
It was a big deal. I'm getting
Huge.
goosebumps talking about it. No, I am. Because it did. It helped change culture. It helped change the way people looked at lesbians. That's a really big thing.
That's true. Oh my God,
that's
that
your
is
legacy,
true. That's
girl.
weird.
Yeah, no, but it's a great thing. And so let's go, where did that boldness come from? Because here you had this tough beginning, so I'm going to go back to that. And yet I think all that you went through with that, the woman saying, you're from a broken home and all that, actually, that's where sometimes good things come out of bad things, where I think it made you so resilient and bold and tough that's what allowed you to be the trailblazer that you've been, to help change culture. And so, as tough as those beginnings were, and as tough as it was being, the child of a single mom in the 60s
In
and
the
that,
60s.
Yeah, look at what came out of it,
I think,
and that is really a beautiful
and
thing.
isn't that I feel like this. That's our job as humans in society, is you can't really change your journey.
Right.
I mean, in the sense that.
But you can take it on or not.
Right, exactly. And you can decide, is this going to define me this way or this way?
Right.
Am I going to let this be the worst thing that happened to me, or is this going to be something I will use?
Right. And you know what I think that has to do with? Staying authentic to yourself.
Correct.
You were bold in doing what you did and changed minds and people and culture by being unafraid and fearless. And that's what I like to always talk about on this show, is like, how do we walk through our fears and be our authentic self no matter what? And that is always the right decision.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now I'm looking at this. Here's what's weird is, like, I got my personality from my parents.
Yeah.
Even that my father, the DNA is DNA, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you get that. What my older sisters, that's it. It was just my mom, my two older sisters, me. That's it. Forever, right? They were so shy and so quiet and such rule, like they did everything exactly how it was supposed to do. They never spoke up. Or
You were the
spoke out or
rebel.
whatever. But what's weird about it now, I look at that, is I got the confidence, probably from genetics initially, but to protect them. It irritated me that my one sister was overweight, and so kids were horrible to her.
Right.
So I had to get up in it.
Right.
And my other sister was like a little weird, you know what I mean? She was scared of everybody, kind of a little weird girl, you know what I mean? So people were mean to her, so I had to get up in it.
Right.
But so don't you think it has to be to some degree genetics? Because I was doing that from the time I was like 4 or 5, so no one teaches you that.
Right. But that's what it is. We all have different gifts. They had different gifts than you had.
And they do, yes.
And
they
using your
do.
gifts for the greater good.
Which
that's what I'm
think
saying.
is important.
Yeah.
I'm a
And so whatever, my gifts are different than yours.
Correct.
Ours is different than other people's. Like, everybody has to find what is their strength. What is their strength? And then using it for their authentic reason for being here.
Correct.
And I'm going to wrap up with that's what you've done.
Wait, we're done already?
That's what you've done.
Oh my God.
We're going to talk about, though, you have a show coming
I have
up
a show.
on March 16th at the LGBT Center, the Renberg
With the homos.
Theater.
At the Renberg Theater.
Which is
I just never do a show in town in Los Angeles.
I know you
It's very
don't.
rare, like only every other year or so, because
Yeah.
it's hard and it's a pain in the butt. But I do have one. I'm so excited because I'm doing my own show, and I'm doing it for the homos, for the lesbies. Raise some money for some gay peeps over there. I don't know what group,
LGBT
but
Center.
yeah, at the LGBT Center on McCadden Drive.
Lily Tomlin's Theater.
They named it after her. She and Jane
Renberg.
Wagner now.
Her and Jane
yes.
Wagner's Theater, Renberg.
Which is very cool.
So I hope there's tickets left. I know we have our tickets. We're going. And I'm looking forward to seeing you, because I haven't seen you perform in a few years.
Is that true? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And we've been friends, so that's weird. Like going to dinner and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's more. That's funner.
This will be
Funner's
funner.
not a word, don't use that.
I know. It's a word in the Amish country.
Right? They use it all the time. They still speak German.
So we will see everybody on March 16th.
Can't
and
wait.
So happy to have you on today. And
Let's do this again. I feel like I didn't even get to talk about anything.
And I know, but you know what? We did talk about the most important thing, and that's the legacy you're leaving and the trailblazing that you've done. And I thank you for being on the show and sharing your story, because not a lot of people know your backstory, and it's amazing, and you're amazing. So thanks for being on. Thank you. And we'll tune in next week, Wednesday. You know, we always have somebody amazing, and just make it a great week.
Who's next?
Hugs and happiness.